Hi, welcome back to One Code Camp channel. This is Ian, and in this video, we are going to dive deep into a topic that's absolutely crucial for mastering the EJS or the embedded JavaScript templating language. We will talk about none other than the concept of scope. Now, if you've ever wondered how data flows within those EJS templates that you created and also how you can make your web applications truly dynamic, then understanding the concept of scope is an absolute must. In this video, we will demystify the concept of scope in the context of EJS, and then by the end of it, we will also have a rock-solid grasp of how everything works. We'll explore what is really the definition of scope in the context of EJS. I'm also going to give you tips and best practices for leveraging scope to build those powerful, data-driven, and of course, reusable web applications. Lastly, we are going to entangle how does scope relate to our Node.js server. So let's get to the introduction and let's get into the coding. Now, to give us a clear demonstration of the concept of scope in the context of JavaScript within our EJS template, we are going to build a very simple project. So up here in our screen is an open folder from the project that we did on our previous video. But of course, we want to start clean and we want everyone to be able to follow along no matter which video you start watching on. So what I'm going to do is I am going to delete everything from our EJS folder. Let's delete these guys. And then we are going to install all of the dependencies back. Okay, so once your Visual Studio Code is starting with an empty folder, well, first I would want you to create your folder in your desktop, name it EJS, and then open up your Visual Studio Code. From here, just click on File, and then Open Folder. Look for the location of where you saved the folder you created. In our case, that's inside our desktop, and then just hit on Select Folder. Now, once you're here, for us to install our dependencies, we will need to open our terminal. So we can do that by clicking this New Terminal button, or on your keyboard, you can just press Ctrl, Shift, and then backtick. Okay, so here inside the terminal, after you make sure that this is pointing on the exact location of our folder, we are going to run the command npm init-y. This is to initialize a new Node.js project, and then we are going to follow the prompts to set up your package.json. So we are waiting for a file to be prompted here, and there it is. Once this is available, we can now then install Express along with EJS. So we're going to run the command npm install Express, and then you can just install EJS along with installing Express as well. And absolutely work. Alright, so it might take a couple of seconds for it to be loaded up. Now, while we are waiting, we are going to create our project directory or the structure of our web application. So in here, we will be creating the server of our project. Let's name it app.js. And then we are also going to create a folder we'd like to name views, which is what's going to handle all of our EJS templates. Inside our views folder, let's go create a single EJS template. Let's name it index.ejs. All right. Now, back to our terminal. You can see that everything has been properly downloaded. If you are back to your folder location, and you should also be able to see a folder here, up here that says node_modules, which includes all of the built-in methods and functionalities that we will be needing from Express. All right. Now, next is let us go ahead and create our server. Again, and that is this app.js file that we created. So in here, we're just going to declare variables. First would be the express variable, which is what's going to let us use the Express framework that we just downloaded. And then down here, we're also going to use the app variable, and then this is where we're importing, or we are requesting for all of the built-in functions of the Express framework. And then lastly, we are also going to define which port number we would like to use or we would like to be opened for this project to be viewed on. All right. Now, once all of these are set, we can now go down here to set the configuration settings of our project. So let's start with setting up EJS as the templating language or as the view engine. So we can do that by saying view engine. And then we are going to specify here EJS. Okay. Now down here is where we are going to declare another variable. So we have here a user variable. And then we are trying to simulate here the data retrieval from a database-like system. So we are going to use this variable later on to be passed on to our template, to the index.ejs template that we created earlier. So in here, we are assigning a value of, let's just say, John Doe, for example. That's what we're going to store in our user variable. And then in here is where we are going to set the routes for our web pages, for the pages of our project. So let's say app.get. We are now setting the root URL or the default landing page on where our project will be starting on. Rec. And then inside this is what's going to define the content of this route. Yes. Render. Press that. We only need render method. And then inside, we're going to identify the file name of the web page we wanted to be shown. And then in this part, on the second parameter, is where we are going to define this variable that we created above here. So we would like the index file or the index page to be able to use this variable username that we created. User.username. Okay, don't forget your semicolons. Think we're going here. Okay, and then down here is, of course, we wanted to see a visual representation once we don't have any errors and once our server is running perfectly. So in here, we are identifying the port number. And then inside, we would like to display a message on the console if we happen to be able to execute the server successfully. So in our console, we want to see message that's say, so we are using this string that says a server is running on port. By the way, I'm using template literal rather than concatenating this set of string and the port variable that we have from above. This is just for this line of code to be dynamic. If in any case the port 3000 is not working, we can just change the part numbers in here without doing anything on this part anymore. So this will dynamically change based on the value that we are going to assign on its variable. So that's the message that we want to see on the console. Let me just make sure we have everything correctly. Okay. All right. Okay. Now let's save this app.js file. And then let's go straight ahead to our only template, the index.ejs file. So in here, we're just getting the HTML boilerplate by using this Emmet abbreviation. Type on an exclamation symbol, and then press tab on your keyboard, and you will be auto-populated with this, with all this information without you having to type them from scratch. The only information that we will need to change here is the title. Maybe let's give this a title of EJS scope. Okay. I'm going to fix the indentation, just what we do in our previous videos, just to see everything more clearly. Okay. All right. Now inside the body, let's add in a title and close in an H1 to tag. So we're saying welcome And then this time, this is the part wherein we're going to use that variable information that we declared on our server. So we can call in here the username variable that we were able to set. And then let's maybe add in here an exclamation mark. And then of course, we need to make sure that's closed. And then let's add in more content, maybe a text, and close in a p tag. Let's say this is an example of using EJS templates with scope. Okay, that's looking good so far. So let's save it as well. And then now we're going to run our server, and then we wanna see how it looks like on the live server or on an actual web page. So down here on our terminal, we will need to type in a node, space the name of our server file, and then hit on enter. Now, as you can see, we have the string that we set inside the server. This is the exact message that we want to see if we were able to type or to code everything correctly. And I do hope it is. We can confirm that by clicking on the Go Live server extension down here. Click on Go Live. Let us squeeze in our browser along with the Visual Studio Code so we can see them side by side. My browser is here. Let me move it here. Okay. So as you can see, it automatically opens to 55,000. We're going to change it to 3,000. So we don't need to see all these file directories. And we are getting an error. Let's see where did this error came from. So we're getting an error with the render line. So let me see what happened in here. Maybe we missed something. That get rest. Okay. So this should be should be first. And then let's replace it with rest. Let's see if it'll make a difference. So save your changes. Let's run our server again you can get out of these errors by clicking or pressing Ctrl+C on your keyboard. Once you're back here, type in node space app.js again. And then we can now see this log or this message on our console. Let's refresh our browser, and there we have it. All right, so as you can see, it displays the value of the variable that we were able to create here on our server. So what's going to happen next is we are going to create examples on when we can use other types or where we can define the different scopes that these variables, or maybe we can create another one, can be in control of certain templates or certain EJS templates that we will be creating further. So with this example, we were able to demonstrate that data is being exchanged between our Node.js server, this app.js file, and then this EJS template, which is our index.ejs. We use this information, or we were able to transfer the data between the two files to help us generate a dynamic HTML content. We can the server is now capable of passing the user information to the template using this method, this rest.render method. This actually helps us in making the data accessible within the specific template, which is the index file that we indicated in here. It helps us to have this user variable be accessible within this index template scope. Now, what's going to happen if we do have multiple templates and we happen to use the same variable up here? That's what we're going to find out. So let's now move on to our next example. So now, let's create another template. So inside our views folder, let's create template2.ejs. Now, inside this template, let's go ahead and change the title to template2. And let me also fix the indentation in this file. All right. Now, inside the body of our second template, let's have, maybe here we can add in another title. And then let's say here, second template. Okay. And then maybe here we can now demonstrate the use of the variable. Let's see. Or maybe we can change or update our server first. So let's access our app.js file. And then here, let's add another route for the other template that we created. So app.get, this time, let's put in here the URL route would be template2. And then let's use the rect and rest method. Okay, and this is where we're also going to specify the file that we wanted to be shown whenever this URL or this route has been accessed. So it's the template2 file. And then along with it is we want to use the same variable, or maybe it would be better if we can use a different variable here. Let's try to create a different variable. Let's comment this out. Okay, so let's do it on our first template. We can also, aside from setting variables up here, you can also, in the instance of having multiple templates, which is exactly our case now, you can now declare your variables inside your routing. So we can maybe declare a message variable this time. And then for the first template, we want to say this is the index field. Okay. All right. And of course, we're changing this to just message. All right. And then now for the second template, we are going to do the same thing. We're going to declare the same variable, but with a different value. This time, we want to say this is the second template page. Second template page. And then let's call in the same variable in here to be passed on to that template. Okay. Our server is now looking good. Let's save the file. And then back here on our index.EJS, let us update the variable. So we're no longer welcoming anyone here. So let's just say in here that welcome to, or no, let's just have the variable message in here directly. So message. Okay. Now we wanna include a bit of an information down here. Let's remove this paragraph. Well, we should have done that. We will be using another paragraph tag, but with a different content. We have here variables. We want to say variables in this template. Now, we wanted to somehow enumerate all the variables that these templates have an access to. So, let's go ahead, fix this. Well, we will be adding in here another p tag, so we shouldn't have removed that. But anyways, so we're adding in here a different sentence. We wanted to this template to list down all of the variables that it has access to. So this way, we will be able to identify if it will have an access to the other variable that we declared on the second template, the same variable name of message. So variable in this template, and then we want it to be in a list type or a list format. So inside this is where we're going to call our message variable. Message inside our script tags. Oops. Okay. All right, let's save this file. And then now, going to our second template, we pretty much is going to do the same thing. So in here, we also want to add on the heading the message that we have written for this template, calling in the message variable. And then down here is, of course, another paragraph as well enclosed in a p tag. Basically just copying the same content from the index.ejs template. Variables in this template. It to list down the variables here. And then inside our list item is the message variable again. Message. Oops, should be a percent symbol. Okay. Right, this is looking good. We want to save the file. And now we are going to run our server again. Where is our server go? Let me minimize the file explorer so we can squeeze in our live server here. Then while we're waiting for that to come up, let's go ahead and run our app.js file. Let's close that. Oops. Don't need a period there. It should just be node space app.js. Okay. Then I'm bringing the live server in here next to the Visual Studio Code, and there we have it. All right, so as you can see, it is now displaying us the index page first, the first template that we created. And let me open it up. So this is the one enclosed in the h1 tag. And these are the variables that it was able to track down for us. So the variables that we have in this template would be the value that we assign this information into. This is the index page. Let's check our app.js. All right, so it matches the value that we assign on this message variable. Okay, and then now let's try to access our second template. We are accessing that manually up here since we're not able to create links to the second template on our web page yet. Maybe we can do that later on. Okay, so as you can see, this now shows us the second template or the template to that EJS file. It's showing us the same information in here. The only variable that it was able to track down is this message variable and then this value that we assign to it. Now, you might kind of wondering what's the difference or what concept are we trying to show in here. Now, what we are trying to show you is that, as you can see, using scopes in EJS templates, the variable that we declared in each of them can only be accessible within that variable. It's not able to, here in the second template, it was not able to list down this value, this group of strings, since this template does only have access into this variable in here. The message variable in this specific template, even though they have the same variable name, that doesn't mean that it'll be accessible to both of the template. It is considered as a totally different variable if it's within another template already. So at this point, we are able to separate or to create a fine line of variable scopes between EJS templates. But you might be wondering, what if this happens to be a big or a more complex web application? Of course, it'll have a bigger code base and you will be using lots of way more variable than what we currently have. So we have listed in here some best practices that we can use for us to avoid the scope-related issues in EJS. So the first thing that I will be advising is for us to avoid using global variables. So what are global variables? Global variables are, for example, this user variable that this this should be commented. Now we commented up here. So, well, there will be instances in a bigger code base that you will be needing variables that is declared globally or that can be accessible by all of the templates. But as much as you can, if you can keep it or if you can declare that variable into or inside template scope, you are better off creating the variables that way. So that's one of the best practices that we can share. And then also is use EJS tags properly. So we have discussed this on a previous video about different EJS scriptlet tags. But for now, we will need to be more aware of the scripted tags that we are using whenever we are going to call on a variable. So these are EJS scriptlet tags that encloses the information, the dynamic information that we wanted to be rendered on our template. Now, these have different types. So along with this simple one, we also have something looking like this, which is the one that we've used to render the message variable. This one is to, we use them to output the result of that specific JavaScript expression, or it gives you the assigned value of that variable that you are currently calling. So in short, we will just need to keep in mind that there are different scriptlet tags for EJS, and we will need to select which one is the best one that we can use to render a specific information. And then also, we might, as much as we can, need to limit nested scopes. So as our codes or variables gets deeper into nested scopes, of course, you will have a hard time tracking down the accessibility of these variables, and you might have need to debug it on a later part of your development process, which will kind of be a bit tedious rather than new. Keeping in mind to keep everything or keep the template logic as flat as possible. And then lastly would be just a simple following very simple or very easy to understand naming convention. This is a very simple practice that we follow, not just with EJS template or with the concept scope, but with declaring variables in general. So for us to not be confused with the accessibility of these variables that we are going to use across these different templates, we will need to use as descriptive as possible names for the variables that we are going to declare. And there you have it. This now, in this video, again, we covered the scope in EJS templates of the variables that we are going to use for our project. And I would like to thank you for sticking at to this point. And I hope to see you on our next video, which we will be discussing about making our project a bit more presentable by applying CSS or cascading a style sheet file within our application. So see you on the next one.